Hey there, everybody. Welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and today we've got a little bit of a left turn for you. We're going to be talking about a topic that I really felt needed to kind of be aired. This was something that's been on my heart to discuss for a while, and I've got a very special person joining me today to help me have this discussion. Now, I noticed that a lot of things have been happening over COVID. I know lots of changes have happened in life. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But what I also noticed was that the way that a lot of my family, my friends, even myself began to cope over COVID changed. Our routines changed, our exercise changed, our work life changed, our family life, our home life, even the things that we do to soothe our own souls changed. And I've seen a lot of habits forming, habits changing, both for good and maybe not so good over the last 12 months. An observation that I made just about myself over the last 12 months was that in order to start winding down, I changed my habit and my relationship with alcohol. Now, I know that this is something that is a conversation that comes up a lot with people that I'm chatting with every day. It's this, I've gone from, a couple of drinks on a weekend to a couple of drinks every night. And this is a common conversation that I've been having with people. It's something that I wanted to bring to the forefront. I wanted to actually make this a conversation so that we start talking about it. I think it's not just about alcohol. It's about a lot of things. It's about people's relationship with food, relationship with alcohol, and very much so people's relationship with technology. And we've seen a lot of people going on, technology diets, technology fasts, changing the way that we're eating to try to get ourselves back on track. And what I wanted to do today was interview a very special somebody who I think you're all going to love listening to, the beautiful Celine Egan, who has gone on an incredible journey of removing alcohol completely from her world. And she's been going, I think it was 400, she'll tell us in the interview, 400 and so many days now, it's well over a year, where she has gone completely without alcohol. And she tells us a little bit about the journey, the struggle, and some of the things that she's done to help us over that period. Now, whether it's alcohol for you, whether it's food, whether it's technology, whether it's something else completely, and you think, do you know what? I've got some habits in my world that I could change right now because they're not the most healthy habits. Listen on in. You're going to get a lot from this session. I know that certainly listening to Celine has been really helpful for me. And I think if there's a couple of you out there today that are listening to this, get a few little bits of information that are going to help you on this journey, or just a bit of inspiration and motivation, then mission accomplished. So jump on in, listen in. This was a great little chat we had together, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. So if you've got something that you want to reach out about and you are in struggle street right now, don't forget, don't do this alone. Reach out and chat with somebody. So dive on in. Let's have a listen. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and today I am joined by the amazing Celine Egan. Now, we've just been chatting about Celine's title, and we came up with a whole lot of really fun titles for Celine, because really you play a lot of roles in my world from many, many years ago when we first met to now. So how about, Celine, you say hi and you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Sam. Well, it depends on which day of the week it is. I could be Mama Celine, or I could be whatever. But my official title is the Chief Growth and Operations Officer for Juice Plus Australia and New Zealand. But I answer to pretty much everything.
Yeah. And actually that is really true, because there are times that I've had the pleasure of being a great friend Celine's been a great friend of mine, a family member in many ways, but also we've worked together professionally for a long time as well. And so when I ring Celine, I've got to do that. Okay, I'm ringing Mama Celine today, or I'm ringing Juice Plus Celine today, just so we can set off the tone before the conversation starts.
And you're not on your own there. That's oftentimes I'll kind of get, okay, I want Mama Celine Celine or I won't coach Celine. And actually that's even with my own children.
Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic. Well, that's a good lead into today, because today we're going to talk about something that I think this is a bit of a taboo subject. This is something a lot of people avoid talking about. And we were just having a bit of a preliminary conversation about this. And I mentioned to Celine why I wanted to talk about it. She's right on cue with the wine glass. But something that I know has been a real change over the last 12 months has been people's relationship, not just with alcohol, but coping mechanisms, because life has changed. And I really felt it on my heart to do a little bit of a chat with you, Celine, about this, because I have watched firsthand your little journey with alcohol over the last, how many days?
487.
487 days. So 487 days ago, you made the decision to stop drinking. Not necessarily permanently. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but you made the decision to give it up. And I'm not suggesting that people need to go to that extreme, by the way. But do it if you want to. We're going to give you so much information today to help you with that. But what I do want to do is bring to the forefront the conversation around what we've been going through over the last year, the changes in lifestyle, particularly for the women and the mums out there, not excluding the dads, but I know, how my relationship with coffee and alcohol and even exercise has changed over the last year, food. So I wanted to jump on in and have a bit of a chat to you about it, Celine. I've got some questions geared up and lined in there to get right to the nitty gritty and the heart of this. But let's start with asking the question that I'm sure is on everyone's lips, which is, what was the decision? Why? Why did you make that decision?
Why would you do that? Look, I love having this conversation. I think it's great for us to be able to have it, because I agree totally. There are so many people out there at the moment. Life has changed from what we know it. I mean, no matter what we think, life has definitely changed. And the reality is, this last 12 months, and if you're kind of, if you're watching this down the track, we're talking about 2020, the year that was, and probably even as we come into 2021. It has most definitely changed for a lot of people. And I know myself, even, I have to say, my relationship with food, my relationship with alcohol, my relationship with exercise, all of those things have kind of changed. Yeah. However, I gave up alcohol before all of that happened. Yeah. That was actually, so we're actually talking about towards the end of 2019. So why did I give it up? There was a couple of reasons, but the main reason, to be honest, was I am a woman of a certain age. And so I was kind of taking that foray into menopause. And I'm very blessed because of the fact, I suppose, of, live well, eat well, supplement well, what I've kind of learned in my journey and I suppose living the Juice Plus lifestyle has actually helped me to kind of, prepare my body and be set up for it. So symptoms from menopause, really, they were not that bad, especially when I hear some of the stories. However, one of the things that really made life just a little bit difficult was the hot flushes. Just that kind of, and they would just come out of nowhere.
I've got all this to look forward to, right?
Oh, you so do. You so do. Those of you who are not of a certain age, don't whinge about it, okay?
You think you get 3 kids and then you're like, hang on a minute. We're not done.
Seriously, I was having some conversations with God going, what is this? I mean, hello, we go through all of the things that women do. We give birth, we raise the next, God, not guys, God. Yeah, exactly. And I just kind of go, what is this? Like, now we're going to do menopause? Righty-ho, okay. So anyhow, so in the midst of all of that, what I noticed, what my observations were, because I was just taking notice of when were those hot flushes worse than other times, just trying to kind of observe what that was going on. And I have to say, when I had a glass of something a little bit stronger than this, it would definitely, I noticed it would trigger it. It would actually trigger it and it would be worse. Okay. And I did everything. I looked at, because I really was desperate not to give up alcohol. So I did. I'm Irish.
I will learn to run a half marathon, she says.
I'm Irish. I was kind of going, you know what? There's got to be other options.
What crazy diet can I go on? Yeah.
I know. I tried them all. I'm just saying, I tried them all. Now, this might not be for you, but I have to say, it helped me. So I looked at organic wine, I looked at preservative-free wine, I looked at whatever it was kind of thing that you could do. I even looked at going straight to the spirits because, you know what, I'm Irish. I love my whiskey.
You really
I love
did
my
go all
wine.
out. Yep.
I did my research, believe you me. Because in the midst of all of this, might I add, I had 2 children getting married. So we had our daughter getting married, basically, and then 3.5 months later, our son was getting married. Now that might not sound much, but we're Irish. They were Irish weddings. We had everybody coming from Ireland. Our weddings don't go for a few hours of an afternoon. Like they're 3-day events with a lot of parties. So anyhow, we'd had our daughter's wedding, and I was kind of going, you know what, this is not good. You know, I definitely feel it. So my initial reason was basically to be able to assist with, you know, the menopause symptoms. I was giving up for 100 days. That's what I was doing. I was giving up for 100 days.
Yep.
But 487 days later, we are still here. And I am going to say, before we kind of pop on to the next question or whatever like that, there is never going to be a right time. There is never going to be an easy time. There is always going to be an event, because when I gave up, I then had Christmas, New Year, my daughter-in-law's hens weekend, which was all down in Hobart, going to wineries and all the rest.
Yeah, I remember you ringing me asking, Sam, do you know of any really good non-alcoholic wines to help us?
True, I was like, no. Then our son's wedding. And then add insult to injury, COVID. I mean, when honestly, this is why we're having this conversation. Most people turned to alcohol.
Yeah. Yep. So, and we've talked a little bit about why that is.
Easy time.
So
Totally.
I remember the time when you said, right, 100 days, and then you had a little app on your phone as well. I'm sure that'll come up in conversation shortly, but you had an app and you're counting the days down, and I'm thinking, wow, you know, when's she going to snap? When's she going to break? How long is she going to go for? So the first thing I just want to say is I admire you so much for not only making the decision to do it, but all the reasons you just said, because I'm just going to put this out there. We were just talking about the fact that Greg and I a few weeks ago decided to do a detox. We do this about once every year because, you know, the coffee and the wine and the sugar and all those things start to build up and you think, right, it's time to refresh and start again. And Greg said, that's it. There's never going to be a right time. And I found myself checking my calendar going, okay, when can I not drink? It wasn't, it was when is it appropriate to not drink? Because, you know, all the social events. And I was embarrassed that was the deciding factor around, you know, but I don't think that's unusual.
You're not on your own though. No, you're not on your own at all. I mean, I have people kind of going, oh, you know, I was going to do February fast or whatever it is kind of thing, and they kind of go, oh, hang on, though, there's that happening,
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, exactly, you know, or then like, you know, it's March, well, there's St. Patrick's Day and there's going to be
there's
Easter
a Saturday in there somewhere.
I know, exactly. So it is so much, and I have to say too, the other thing that comes up for a lot of people, and it came up for me too, was more about the pressure of what other people would think.
Yeah.
It's that kind of, you know, and it was funny because, like, you know, say for example, you really don't realize how kind of dependent you are, but also how other people kind of think, okay, well, if they're not drinking, are they going to be fun? Are they going to still I think still going to enjoy
can
themselves?
I still have a drink? And
exactly. And does that mean I've got to give up too, kind of thing? Yeah. And even some of the things like, so the hens weekend, for example, I was playing beer pong. I'm actually really good at beer pong, by the way. If any of you ever played drinking games.
Stop. Beer pong, not bong.
Beer pong.
Oh dear, I'm so glad I corrected you.
I might not be able to say that, but hey, I'm good at it. And
don't edit that out.
So I was, of course, playing it, and it was great because mine was kombucha. That's what I was drinking.
Yep.
You know, and you know, at the at our son's wedding, Shane and Brookie's wedding, kind of thing, I was up dancing and all the rest. I had my wine glass, I had my kombucha in it. It looks like wine. People were saying to me, "Are you sure you're not drinking?" Because I'm up dancing.
You were happy.
I'm going, it's just kombucha. That's all that's in there. And but I was reading around the same time. I think it was either Mel Robbins or Brené Brown, one or other of them. I followed them both. One or the other of them had actually decided they were going to do the same thing. actually around the same time. And they did a whole article around the peer pressure from other people, the fear that they had. And I found this a lot when I was at social gatherings, right up till even like, over this last Christmas break. So I had, at that point in time, I'd been given up over a year. People still saying to me, oh, but you can just have one. Just have a glass of whatever.
Wow. Okay. Because that was going to be my next question. It's not on our list, but how did you find the behavior of other people?
It was really interesting because they were actually worried about, well, if I don't have a drink, will I have a good time? Or they can drink.
Do you think
it
might have been a bit
awkward,
selfish? It affected them or made them feel a little bit guilty about
a little bit,
around.
Probably not realizing it, but just that little bit. And I think the thing it comes back to is it's so ingrained in our culture. That we need to have, if we're out for a meal, we need to have a drink to go with it. If we're, gathering with friends, we should have a drink. If we're, whatever it might be. And, should I feel sorry for them because they're not drinking and not actually thinking about, you know what, the person who's not drinking has just made a choice not to drink. It's okay. You know what, seriously, if they're showing up to your event or to your party or to whatever, they're actually showing up because they really want to and like you, because they actually have to put up with you sober.
And that can be actually, I got to say, going through pregnancies, it was one of the most difficult parts of going out was when everyone else started to get merry and you're sober, rather than them being fun and funny, they're silly.
It's interesting.
They're crazy.
I'm just going to say it can be interesting.
There's a lot of eye rolling. No,
absolutely. But you know what? I also noticed on the flip side of that, I've had so many people over the time. And I actually had a young lady come up to me, much younger than me, but come up to me at Brooke and Shane's wedding. And she said to me, I'm not drinking today. And I said, oh, that's cool. And she's, you inspired me that I actually don't need to, because you had such a good time at the hens.
Wow.
And so I decided I'm actually going to, and this is a much younger person than me, in their probably kind of, mid-20s. Where, out at a, something like that, a wedding, and they're a good party group. So, there was plenty of alcohol being had and that. But what I would say to you is, and again, this is not to pressure anybody into, giving up alcohol. This is all a personal choice. It really is. But if you are finding, and I know, we were chit-chatting about this earlier on, if you're finding that you're using alcohol maybe as a way to cope, with the way life is nowadays or whatever like that, or for any other reason other than you just enjoy a glass of wine with a meal, or you enjoy having a drink, whatever like that. If you feel that in any way, you know what, look at it. And also too, don't think about the people who are going to be bothered by it. In other words, the ones that are kind of going, oh, it's not going to be fun. Actually think about the people that are watching and kind of going, oh my gosh, actually that's inspiring. Maybe if she could do it, maybe I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the observation that I made, and we were talking a little bit about our own, behaviors and patterns. And one of the things I observed over the last 12 months was that I went from a situation, and this is in chatting with a lot of other mums and people who were working from home, homeschooling, all of that sort of stuff, dads too, but I'm going to speak about the women here for a little moment because they're the ones I've been talking to. But the thing that I noticed was happening was it went from being, and I know for me, drinking wine is something that has been a part of my childhood all the way through. When my parents were cooking dinner and you're around the dinner table with the family, you're having a glass of wine. And from quite an early age, that was a part of the social setting that I grew up with. And it was about appreciating the wine, learning about the wine, all of that sort of stuff. And I remember my dad used to, give me a little sip and let me taste and understand. And that was all great. So I grew up with that. And so it became a habitual thing that, when you get to the kitchen at night, you start cooking dinner, you pour a glass of wine. And, certainly through pregnancies, I turned that into a wine glass of water. So I've got a gnat from my plants floating around my face here. So I used to pour a wine glass of water because it was just the habitual thing. But what I noticed started to happen was particularly over COVID, but I think this is relevant for any stressful situation that people go through. It went from being the wine because I wanted to appreciate a nice glass of wine to I just want to wind down. and I want to use it to switch from work to home. And something I noticed in conversations was happening a lot was people had gone from, having a few drinks on the weekend to having a drink almost every night of the week, if not every night of the week, because it became that separation when people were working from home and living at home. I go from homeschooling my kids and working to, I'm now going to pour a glass of wine or a beer or spirit or whatever it is that you drink to separate out my work and my home life. And it was that wind down tool. Now, for some people, that wind down tool became exercise, which was a healthier version, but that too can be used the wrong way. For some people, it became food. For some people, it became technology. I know technology became a massive addiction as well. And so for all of so many people, there were these coping mechanisms that came into play over that period of time. The thing I've noticed, though, about people's relationship with alcohol is they don't want to talk about it, which is why we want to do this podcast today, because there was this, a lot of the people I've spoken to have gone, I don't really talk about it because I don't want to be labeled as being an alcoholic or alcohol dependent. Yet I'm probably not overly impressed with my relationship with alcohol right now. Yeah. And so I thought, well, this is probably a really good time to talk about it. So
absolutely. And I think it's like anything. People don't want to be labeled. They don't want to kind of, if they don't really talk about it, well, then, they don't have to do anything about it. And, it's in so many, no matter what it is, as soon as we start to say, I need it, or, it helps me to you got to look at, okay, well, what is the relationship come now? Is it a dependent relationship? Or is it a choosing relationship?
Yeah.
And that's with anything. I have to say, I had to relook at my relationship, with food, and that as well, and just look at, okay, some of the habits, the good habits that are went by the wayside through this whole season, this past probably 6 months or so kind of thing. And also when stress comes in, and as a family, we've had a little bit of stress over the last 4 months. I have to say, I'm really proud that I didn't actually go to alcohol and that, but then, I probably fell off the wagon in other areas and kind of go, okay, observation, what's happening here, right? I need to put some habits back in place around that. But it's being okay with knowing that, it's your individual journey. So just start to identify what's your internal dialogue that's going on. Do I need the coffee, or am I choosing to have the coffee? Do I need the glass of wine to be able to kind of, chill out or whatever like that? Or am I choosing to have a nice glass of wine with dinner? It's any of those kinds of things. I think it's just been really mindful of what's the dialogue around it. Because, again, that determines what your true relationship is with it. And no one can identify that except you. So for whoever is watching and listening to this, at the end of the day, there's no judgment. It's just kind of going, okay, is it a healthy relationship that I've got with it, or is it not? Or for me, for me, this initially was all around the health benefit, the extra, my quality of life was being affected by, having the alcohol was exacerbating the hot flushes. That meant my quality of life was not great. And so if you can kind of look at, okay, how is this impacting my quality of life? Then that's important. And then the second thing for me was also being able to model making strong choices and decisions for my children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when you shift it into that as well, there's that extra level of accountability for you, because they get to be able to see, I'm still fun. I can still have a good time. I can still, do all of those things. I can still make the most amazing cocktails. Over the Christmas, I made some really amazing cocktails. It's just they don't have alcohol in them, because you know what? I think that this has been this has actually been a cultural shift for many people. They're realizing, okay, you know what? I need to shift. And so the market is actually meeting it. There are amazing non-alcoholic spirits out there. There are amazing wines. People kind of go, but you can't do this. You can't have wine, but you can. There are so many choices out there. Probably about a month ago now, myself and Mick and some friends went and had a beautiful experience at Morgan's Wines up in the Hunter Valley.
Yep.
Now, this included a wine tour winemaking and cocktail making with they also have a spirit that they use as well, that they make. A whole tour of the actual vineyard, and then tasting wines and all the rest kind of thing. I loved learning all of the processes. Everything was interesting. I just didn't taste the wines. It's cool. I smelt them. I smelt, mixed glass, and could appreciate the aromas and what they were talking about and all the rest kind of thing. And then had the most amazing meal that was, cooked from their garden and all the rest kind of thing. So my experience was not less than. It really wasn't, just because I didn't have the alcohol. So that's what I think. I think people feel that they're going to be missing out.
Yeah.
If they don't have whatever it is, fill in the blank for you. We're talking alcohol today, but fill in the blank, feel that you're missing out. Whereas, you know what? It's just about being a little bit more smart and thinking, okay, well, you know what is a healthy choice? Yeah. And simple things. I do have, if I'm out and about, I don't normally drink my water out of a wine glass every single day.
Just walking around.
However, wine glass, if I am in a restaurant or if I am out, I just like, it's not about the glass. I like, generally, wine glasses are just a nicer glass.
Yes.
So I actually love drinking. So I'll have my sparkling water, or whatever I'm drinking, kombucha or whatever like that, in a wine glass or in a champagne flute. Because I just like that feel of doing that if I'm out for a nice meal. The rest of the time, it's my bottle. So I can kind of also track how much I'm having and that. So you just get a little bit smart about the choices you make.
So, Celine, you've probably covered off on this a little bit, but I want to know what the hardest part, I've got a flip side of this, but I want to know what the hardest part was. And do you still have struggles now? It
has definitely gotten easier. It has definitely gotten easier. And I wouldn't say that I have struggles now. I remember probably not that long after I had kind of given up, probably only about a month in, we were actually at a soccer match. We were watching the Newcastle Jets, and everybody sitting on the hill, and my sister was out from Ireland, and it was, before Shannon Brooks' wedding, and we were sitting on the hill watching the game, and they were all there, and they'd all got a beer. It was a warm evening and all the rest kind of thing. And I went, oh gosh, I wouldn't mind a beer now, And Cara said to me, yeah, it's not tasting that great. I don't know whether they've cleaned the pipes or whatever like that. And I went, oh, okay. And it was literally gone.
And that was it.
It was just gone from me, kind of thing. And there's probably only one other time since then where I got really, really stressed and kind of thought, oh, you know what, I could really do with a drink. But that was kind of it. And I have had a nip, in full transparency. I had a nip, probably about that much, a little sip. Our granddaughter was stillborn in the beginning of December. And as an Irish tradition, we actually, as part of a wake type thing, we toast with whiskey. And you know what? I had a little nip in the bottom of that glass to raise a toast to me. So that's actually the only piece of alcohol that has actually probably passed my lips in those 487 days. I just had a little sip to do a toast. But I think, so it was kind of like the beginning was definitely difficult. And it was only difficult because, to be honest, each time we would go out or do things, the expectation on somebody else, on me, not so much me, but the expectation that people thought, I'll just have one or whatever like that. And so I actually struggled with that each time because I felt like I was nearly letting them down. And I kept having to reframe that, going, I'm doing this for a reason, Celine. That's the thing. And the other thing that I know my experience has been, and it's funny, I've been doing some more studying around habits and rituals.
Yeah.
And what it actually kind of finds, you get to a certain point, and I think that point is probably different for everyone, but you get to a certain point where you become the habit or ritual that you've chosen. So I am now someone who just doesn't drink. I don't choose to drink alcohol. Okay. And I actually, again, I'm never saying never, because I don't know, I might choose down the track to create a different reality. But right now I cannot see, because I have just become that person. I am that person who just chooses not to drink alcohol. And so I think in any habit, whether it's you are a person who, you're just a person who naturally, every day you get up and go for a walk, or every day you choose to meditate, or every day you choose to pray, or whatever it is that are your rituals and habits, you will get to a tipping point when you just become that person who does that. It's just something they do.
Awesome.
And so I think it's having the courage and the strength to stay in whatever your commitment is till that time comes. And then when that time comes, it actually just becomes a part of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. So if people are listening to this and they're thinking, all right, how do I learn a little bit more about habits and creating new habits and rituals? And you've mentioned a couple of things that you've listened to. I know we often, exchange podcasts and, obviously this is a great podcast to listen to, but, you must have a few places that you can lead people to perhaps that you've found helpful over this time. Have there been any books or podcasts or audiobooks or anything like that that you found helpful, with this journey?
Yeah, with this kind of journey kind of thing. Look, at the moment I'm doing a system called Lifebook, and it's all around setting some really powerful intentions and strategies and supports around habits in all areas of your life, kind of thing. So that's something that I am working with. But for those who know me, I'm always making sure that I am listening to different podcasts, and you will find that more often than not, great leadership trainers actually will talk about habits, because everything we do is actually about habits and rituals. To become that, even just choosing to be a lifelong learner is about choosing a habit. But some of the top leadership, and so they definitely do touch on habits that I listen to are Craig Rochelle is one, John Maxwell. These are guys every day probably, or at least once a week, that I would listen to. Michael Hyatt, Keith Abraham here in Australia. Making sure that you're putting yourself in that space. And it just so happened, Brené Brown and Mel Robbins, I'm always kind of plugging into those things. They're women that are probably in around about the same age bracket as myself. And so it was just funny that they were having these same kind of conversations at the same time. And that, so yeah, well, again, just Google habits podcasts and you'll probably find that you will come across lots of them. But yeah, that's probably my recommendation at the moment.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have talked a little bit about some of those podcasts and audiobooks, and there is such great stuff out there. And again, it's just about a habit of learning too. And, if we do everything in our own power, we're going to fail every time. But there's some amazing stuff out there. So the other thing, I guess, just as, we start to wrap up, I wanted to ask what clever ways you came up with. You've mentioned a couple already. I know we've talked about this before, but some things that you did, because, we know, you and I know that habits need to be replaced. You can't just stop something. You have to change it. And it's the same with an addiction. Addiction needs to be replaced with something, just a healthier addiction. We're all we're all addicts. It's just, what are we addicted to? And so, you mentioned a few things to me. I've watched that journey. I know that you did some switches and changed some things and put some things in place. Can you maybe give us, a few things that people can do that you did that you found helpful on that journey, even if they're looking to reduce the amount of alcohol, if they want to, go, hey, I'm going to go weekdays without any, what can they do?
Yep. Absolutely. Look, start to think about, what it is that you enjoy, and then look at, if you really want to still feel like you are drinking alcohol, well, then look at the alternatives. Now there is 0% beer that actually tastes good. In the past, some of the stuff was not so good, but you know what? They've actually really kind of gone, there is a market out there. I had an amazing conversation with one of the winemakers up in Margans and was chit-chatting with him. And he gave me a couple of recommendations for different vineyards that actually do zero alcohol and are doing it really well, because, he had been talking to one of his counterparts, and this guy was probably only in his 30s. They were actually saying that more and more young people are actually choosing this journey. They actually choose it, and so they're actually, so now more vineyards and distilleries and all that are actually looking at, okay, you know what, there's a market here that actually does want to be met, so let's do something with that. And I'll actually kind of send you some links maybe for some of the different kind of
that'd be fantastic. I think things. If we can put them in the show notes, that'd be brilliant, because the only time I've ever looked at non-alcoholic wine or beer was during pregnancies. Last one of those was nearly 9 years ago, and I can tell you it wasn't worth it. It was apple cider.
Things have changed, and it's the same. To be honest, it was either like lolly water or it was like something else. So there are lots of things out there.
We can't swear on here.
No. So for me, it was very much around, okay, you know what is it that I like? And as you know, if I was going out on the town kind of thing, to be honest, you know, I loved my little cocktail. I loved an espresso martini and that. And so there are actually companies that do all of the components to be able to, you know, to do that. You know,
and there's great mocktails out there now as well. Every restaurant that does cocktails will have a great mocktail list.
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. And like I said, there's the spirits alternatives and all the rest kind of thing. And, you know, so you can actually kind of still choose to do what you do. For me, it was very much about changing my glass as well. If I was out, that was one of the things it seemed so simple, but it was actually really quite powerful. Like I said, even walking around at the wedding, people wouldn't have known whether I was drinking or not. And again, it's just nice.
The social aspect, it gets people to kind of back off a little, doesn't it?
It totally does. And I mean, that might sound silly, but you know what? You don't want to, if you've given up something, you don't want to be constantly talking about it.
No.
So, you know, you actually, you know, you don't want somebody going, oh, you're not drinking. Oh, you know, it's kind of like, okay.
Are you pregnant?
Yeah. So, you know, they were some of the little things. And also too, I had the tracker on my phone.
Yeah, tell us about the tracker, because
so
I find this really interesting.
Yeah, it's called Enjoying Countdown. I use it for everything. You know, we're counting down conference at the moment. We're counting down everything, counting up, counting whatever. And so I just have that on there. And so it's just an app. There are so many of them. Just, you know what, honestly, just go to, it's got this, my one's got a little 24 on it there.
So what's the app called?
It's called Countdown.
Countdown.
When you, honestly,
when you go on to,
when you go on to the apps, though, there are so many of them. They're all different ones. There are lots of different ones. But I did that. That was good for me because, you know, especially in the initial stages when I was counting up to 100 days, it kind of just kept me motivated, kept me kind of going, okay, well, there's just this, there's that. And then I'm thinking, okay, I got to 100 days and thinking, I might as well go to 200. And then, and it was probably around the 170, 180 where I noticed the switch, that it became more about, it was a habit for me. It became,
that was my next question. What point did you notice there was a shift, a change? So what around about 6 months-ish? Have I got that right?
Yeah, so around about, I would say probably less than the 200 days, because after that it was just kind of, you know what, I just kept going. It was like, you know, and I did have a little thing in my head then, 365, that would be a year. Okay. So it was kind of like, from there. But yeah, it was really just, as I said, it becomes, if you stick at anything long enough, you know, that's why, you know, an awful lot of habit trackers and all that kind of thing are actually quite useful. But you've got to stick through the hard part. And the hard part is like with anything good, you know, whether you're in, you know, we're mainly speaking to direct sellers here. All of you guys know, until you get your DMO, your daily method of operation down pat, you know what, it's hard work. But then what happens is you just become the person who does your reach outs, your follow ups, and etc. every single day, because that's who you are. In the start, you've got to put the habits, the support systems, everything else, the accountability around you to be able to get you to that person. But once you're there, it becomes a part ingrained who you are. You don't go to bed until you've done the number of reach outs that you do. Like for me, when I was building in the field, it was my high five. I did not go to bed till I'd done my high five every single day. That was just, it got to the point where that was who I became. This is no different. All of the skill sets you have learned as being successful direct sellers are the same systems that you can actually apply to having a really, really successful life as well, and doing things and applying habits that are going to support you. So it's the same. It's just the level of commitment that you choose to bring to the table.
There you go. You guys have learned how to be awesome direct sellers and give up alcohol all in the one day.
We aim to please, Sam, don't we?
Please. Talking about killing two birds with one stone. All right. I hate that saying, by the way. We were having a conversation about this the other day. And we're like, where do these things come from?
I know. Where do they come from?
Rule of thumb, they're all horrible.
Yeah, all sorts.
So the last thing I just wanted to ask you about, probably not quite the last thing, but let's see where it goes. I wanted to know, this is how it works. Well, we said, let's just come in and have a chat. It could go anywhere, particularly with us. The only thing is I'm very mindful of the time, and I know we could talk for 2 hours and keep going. So we'll be a bit mindful that we don't do that to all of you today.
Exactly.
But I wanted to ask what health benefits you noticed. What did you notice change when you sort of got yourself off alcohol, both physically, mentally, emotionally? What did you notice? Did you notice anything? Was there any change or shift?
Yeah, the most definitely. Look, I mean, first and foremost, the first reason was around the hot flushes. And so they definitely reduced. Didn't go quite away completely, but definitely reduced. I mean, it was really quite incredible. So that for me was definitely the first.
So it definitely helped in that space.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, awesome.
My quality of sleep improved as well. We kind of can think, oh, we'll just have a glass of wine to kind of relax us and then we'll go sleep. And, the more I research into it, the more they actually say, well, actually, you might fall asleep or pass out, but you're not getting sleep.
Not the best sleep.
So it's actually, different. So I definitely noticed that.
Yeah,
it is. And I mean, I choose to live a busy life. And I've got lots of things that I want to be able to do. And for me, my best productive time is actually earlier in the day. So, for me, my mornings and all the rest kind of thing, if I'd had a night on the town or even a few glasses of wine, it was getting to the stage where even a few glasses of wine, I would have a foggy brain the next day. I don't want a foggy brain. I really don't. And so it was kind of going, you know what, that was also good. Just live, waking up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed kind of thing, as opposed to, okay, yeah, that's right, I had a glass of wine last night. So that was kind of the thing. And I also found too, and I don't know if other listeners see it, as you kind of get older, it actually takes a lot less for you to get that foggy brain. So, it's kind of, when you're younger, you could probably, drink all night, get up and you're ready to go. It's not so much when you hit your mid-50s. It's kind of like, oh, okay, interesting. So that was the other thing for me, which is an important one for me, because I do like to be able to kind of start my day. I can't stand lying around in bed or whatever like that.
Yeah, no, you're an early riser. I know this.
and I love it. I love it. As I said, if I need to be creative or anything like that, or I need to, do some, heavy work, it's first thing in the morning for me. That's when it is that I'm going to be at my best. So all of those things were really good. They were probably definitely the best benefits for me. And the other thing that I noticed too, for me, when I was drinking alcohol, I was a snacker.
Aha. I was just about to ask you about how did it affect your relationship with food?
Yeah, because I mean, like I would be kind of having the glass of wine and I'd be kind of having, whether it was the chips or the cheese or the whatever. Like Friday night for me, to be honest, was Friday night. I'm an introvert working in an extrovert's world. Yep. So by Friday evening, I would be knackered. It was kind of like, put me in a corner, give me a glass of wine and don't talk to me. Of course, that glass of wine though, went with a whole platter of, salmon and cheeses and bickies and all the rest kind of thing. And I could quite easily there have the glass or two.
It sounds like my perfect Friday night right now.
And just eat. Now, that's not to say that I don't still have the platter or whatever like that. Yeah. And there's probably some days where I probably do have more of it than what I should. However, I noticed just a different relationship with it. It's not something that I automatically go to do now on a Friday evening or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And so I did find that I actually I could be more mindful in what I was eating because I didn't have the glass of wine that was just washing it down. So it was interesting. It was interesting just observing some of those things.
Those changes. So if someone's listening today, and I'll make this my last question and we'll wrap it up, but if someone's listening today and they're thinking, I am having a bit of a struggle with this, I haven't spoken about it to anybody, it's a bit of an internal struggle, feel like maybe I might be struggling a bit with my relationship with maybe not necessarily alcohol, let's say it could be a number of different things, food, alcohol, technology, and they think, you know what, I want to take better care of myself. What advice could you give them if they're sort of at that point right now, they're listening to this, they're going, you know what, you kind of described me today. That's definitely where I'm at. What advice would you offer? Any tips or advice you'd give to someone who's listening today?
I think first of all, congratulations on even acknowledging it. That's the first step in any change is actually acknowledging it and kind of going, that could be me. Oh, right. Okay. All right. And having that honest conversation, because as I said, no one else is going to know except you, really and truly, unless, like, I mean, you're, a roaring alcoholic, or you're whatever, like that kind of thing, and whatever like that. And then it's, go get the help that you need.
Yeah.
But from the point of view of what we will call social drinking or whatever like that, but it may be just tipping over that little edge to being a little bit more social than what it was before, then first of all, well done, you're acknowledging it. Okay. Second of all, what is it that you want to do? Like, have that conversation with yourself. I mean, if you're acknowledging that there's a problem, well, then, you know what? Insanity would be not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
There's definitely something there. And then I would look at who is somebody that you trust to kind of have a conversation to help you to be accountable around that. Yeah. Because sometimes some of these journeys are really hard to start on your own. They're just a journey that, that is, and again, and the person that you need to go to is somebody who actually will kind of go to you, okay, I'm really happy to support you in that. Not somebody going, oh no, you don't have a problem, just because they're worried that you're not going to be their drinking partner anymore. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's important.
We tend to go to the person that we know is going to make the excuse for us, don't we?
Exactly. So that's not being wise. Okay. So choose wise counsel. Who is somebody that might be able to support your journey? Now you might, once you've made the decision, once you've kind of acknowledged it and you've kind of made the decision, you know what, I'm going to give this a go, and whatever like that, I'm going to make a decision to give up alcohol for however long. It could be a month. A lot of people do like a month where they just kind of go, okay, that's it. Or it could be like I went for originally 100 days, whatever it might be. Look at it and kind of go, okay, you know what, I'm going to do it. And for some people, they're just going to be able to make that decision and kind of go and just take one step at a time. Remember, none of these things are, solved overnight. You literally are going to take one step at a time. And today, each day that you get up, today, I choose not to have any alcohol.
Yeah.
Today, I
it's
choose
just about looking at the next 24 hours, isn't it? And breaking it right down. It was funny. I said to Greg when we had to do that detox, and when we do a detox, it's fruit, veg, water. That's it. There's like nothing else in there. And he said, we're going to go for 3 weeks. And I went, oh my gosh, 3 weeks sounds like such a long time. And I almost became my own worst enemy with that, because the time factor. And I said, if I just thought it was 7 days, if in my head I was only thinking about the next 7 days, I could have done it, no problems. But I really struggled because I knew we were doing it for so long. And, I think it's the same with this, that 24 hours, one day, do 1 day.
It's exactly. No matter what we're doing, it's about that one, it's that one next step. So just kind of honor yourself with that. Get a little tracker, just because, it's good to be able to look at it and kind of go, oh my gosh, 3 days, I'm 3 days in, whatever it might be. And that, I think it's important. Yeah. And remember, the whole thing about this, no matter what it is you're choosing to give up or start or whatever it is, it's all a game of the mind.
Yeah.
It's not about giving up alcohol. It's not about giving up food. It's not about changing whatever ritual or anything. It's all about mental resilience. That's the only thing that this is actually about. Because every time something comes up, you will have to make a choice. And it's not about whether the alcohol passes your lips. It's actually a choice to support you and your decision.
Yeah,
that's what it actually is. So this is a game that's played all in the head, because you every single day, it's an everyday choice. And I say to people, who I talk with or coach or work with, it doesn't make any difference what it is. It could be about being married or whatever like that. Marriage is an everyday choice, because there's some days you can kill them, and there's some days where you just love them.
We can start a whole new topic about that.
That's what I was going to say. That's a different podcast for a different day.
Another podcast. That will be a 1 hour podcast, that one.
No. However, and for those of you who don't know me, I've been with my husband for 39 years. So I know what I'm talking about there. Okay. But you know what? Every single thing is an everyday choice. You get up and you choose today to do whatever it's going to be the person you are, whatever. So just be kind to yourself, but kind of go, okay, you know what? I'm making a choice for today. And every day you just recommit to that choice until it becomes a habit, because then you'll get to a stage where, like I said earlier on, you won't need to keep making the choice, because you will have become that person who doesn't drink or who doesn't, whatever it might do.
Yeah.
You fill in the blank kind of thing, whatever like that. But
Yeah.
know that, you know what, we're cheering you on, no matter who you are or where you are, we're cheering you on for whatever choice you have. And the last thing I will say around this, if you were using alcohol or whatever, fill in the blank, because of you feel that maybe you just need it to get through the day, or to, you know, COVID and all the rest kind of thing has created isolation for people, has created fear for people because they don't know what the future holds. It's changed. There's been a lot of change and all that. If that's you and you feel that you need an even bigger level of support, please make sure that you go to a professional. Go to a counselor, go to a psychiatrist, whoever it is that you need to. There is no shame in getting help.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so important. Okay. It is okay to not be okay, and it is okay to get help around that. So it's so important. I work with different coaches in my life for different reasons. And it's so, I would not have even got through the last probably 4 months without having those people in my life to be able to speak into my life and to be able to help and support me, so that I don't turn around and maybe, you know, not that I ever thought about it, but you know what, you know, reverting to having drink or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So make sure that you put the support people in your life and go get the help that you need. I think that there's some of us that are, okay, you know what, it's just about cutting down on alcohol or giving it up or whatever like that. But there are others that I know are going to be watching this, that it's actually more.
There's something else.
There's more to this story. And so I would really, really encourage you to go and get the help that you actually need. And I don't mean that you're an alcoholic or anything like that. It's just that you want to be able to make sure that you get the opportunity to be able to speak about whatever it is that's going on in here and in here that is maybe contributing to where you're at right now.
And look, things have just, you know, we don't even need to go into what the world is now. We all know it's been a really tough time for a lot of us. We've been on a roller coaster, all of us together, and we're all coping in very different ways. So, you know, like what you said, Celine, I think that's beautifully summed up. And don't get in your own way. Don't get in your own way. Don't, you know, we're our harshest critics. So, you know, if your self-talk is not building you up, you know, go speak to someone, and you know what, even if you're not sure, it's well worth having great people around you. And I will say that, you know, of all the crazy things that have gone on, even in my world, and it's not comparable to so many other people, the reason I was able to get through those things the way that I did was because I had amazing people to lean on. And I think it's important for all of us to seek those people out. So thank you so much for joining us today, Celine. I think this is, you know, I'm just kind of hoping that there's a couple of people out there right now that have been listening going, you know what, I'm just so glad that other people are able to talk about this, that it's something that, you know what, it absolutely has been a struggle for me at various different times in my life. And I've noticed over COVID, it became, you know, my relationship with alcohol changed significantly. And many of my friends have been in the same boat. And so I know there's probably lots of you out there feeling a bit the same way. So I'm going to make a commitment to say that I'm going to put myself first. And I just want to thank you so much, Celine, for joining us today and talking through this journey. What an amazing journey, and well done.
You're welcome. And sláinte, which means good health in Irish. And you know what? I can still sláinte and have some water.
I love it. I'm going to go out and buy myself some kombucha. And I think you mentioned as well Seed Lips a while ago. I needed to go check out Seed Lips.
Absolutely. There's a few of them. There's Lars, there's Seed Lips. They're all, you know, there's some great ones. I must remind me to text you because people might want to check them out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get some of those things off you, the links, the websites, bits and pieces. We'll pop them in the show notes, guys. But we'd love to hear your comments as well. If you want to reach out, if you've got any feedback, you know, any questions, you know, chuck them in the comments. We'd love to touch base with you. And thank you again so much, Celine, for joining us today. I really appreciate your generosity with your time and sharing this journey. And I'm really hoping that this is just, you know, been a gentle whisper, a little tug on the heart of a few people out there that were, you know, silently battling with this. So thank you very much.
Don't suffer in silence, guys. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me either. If anybody just kind of wants to ask another personal question or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out.
And if anyone wants to find out more about the Amazing Juice Plus, where can they go?
juiceplus.com.au. Check it out, or check out our amazing Facebook page or
Absolutely.
our Instagram, whatever kind of thing. Yeah.
And of course, you've got your own Facebook page. So if people want to reach out, they can go to Doing Life with Celine Egan.
Yeah, Doing Life and Business with Celine Egan.
Yep.
And you'll be able to follow me there. Yeah, come and say hi.
Beautiful.
And I'm also on Instagram as well.
Awesome. We'll pop that in the show notes too. Thank you so much, Celine. And God bless to everybody. Have an amazing day. And we'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.
God bless. Bye-bye.